Most people think weakness is obvious. They imagine fear, nervousness, lack of confidence. But psychology tells a different story. Because many people appear weak without realizing it. Not because they lack intelligence. Not because they lack ability. But because they repeatedly communicate weakness through subtle behaviors. Small habits. Small reactions. Small decisions. And over time, those behaviors shape how others perceive them. The uncomfortable truth is that people are constantly evaluating each other. Not always consciously, but constantly. They observe your reactions, your boundaries, your emotional control. And from those observations, they form conclusions. Today, you'll learn 4 psychological mistakes that silently destroy respect and make people perceive you as weaker than you really are. More importantly, you'll learn how to eliminate them. The need to be liked by everyone. One of the fastest ways to appear weak is becoming dependent on approval. Most people don't realize they're doing it. They adjust their opinions, hide their beliefs, suppress their boundaries. All because they fear something simple: disapproval. The desire to be liked is natural. But the need to be liked becomes dangerous. Because once someone realizes your self-worth depends on their approval, they gain influence over your behavior. You stop acting authentically. You start performing. Trying to keep everyone happy. Trying to avoid conflict. Trying to avoid criticism. The problem? Respect rarely follows people who constantly seek permission to be themselves. Strong people understand a difficult truth: not everyone will like you. And that's perfectly fine. Because peace is found in authenticity, not universal approval. The habit of explaining too much. Have you ever noticed how some people justify everything? Every decision, every boundary, every choice, every opinion. They feel compelled to provide endless explanations, as though they are standing in court defending themselves. Psychologically, excessive explaining often signals uncertainty. It communicates, "I need you to agree with me. I need you to validate my decision." But confident people operate differently. They explain when necessary, not endlessly. Imagine saying, "I won't be able to make it," versus, "I won't be able to make it because," followed by 3 minutes of justification. Which sounds more confident? Usually the first. Because certainty doesn't require endless defense. The more secure you become in your decisions, the less you feel the need to convince everyone else. The inability to say no. Many people destroy their own boundaries trying to appear kind. They agree when they want to refuse. Volunteer when they're exhausted. Accept disrespect to avoid discomfort. At first, people may appreciate this. But eventually something changes. What was once appreciated becomes expected. And expectations become obligations. The tragedy is that many people spend years sacrificing their own well-being to avoid disappointing others. Meanwhile, their resentment grows. Their energy declines. Their confidence erodes. Because every time you betray your own boundaries, you teach yourself that your needs matter less than everyone else's. Psychologically strong people understand something important: saying no does not make you selfish. It makes you responsible for your own life. Chasing people. WHO show no interest. Few behaviors communicate weakness faster than chasing people who clearly do not value your presence. This applies to friendships, relationships, professional environments, social circles. Many people become trapped in a cycle. The more they're ignored, the harder they chase. The less attention they receive, the more attention they give. Why? Because rejection creates emotional discomfort. And they believe persistence will solve the problem. But often the opposite happens. The pursuit becomes one-sided. the dynamic becomes unbalanced, and respect begins to disappear. One of the strongest psychological shifts you can make is learning to recognize when effort is no longer being reciprocated. Because self-respect begins where desperation ends. The pattern all four mistakes share at first glance, these mistakes seem unrelated. Seeking approval, over-explaining, avoiding boundaries, chasing people. But they all originate from the same place. Fear. Fear of rejection. Fear of criticism. Fear of being disliked. Fear of being alone. And fear is powerful. It quietly influences behavior, without most people realizing it. This is why confidence is not about acting fearless. It's about acting despite fear. It's about making decisions based on values rather than emotional discomfort. And that distinction changes everything. What quiet strength looks like. Many people misunderstand strength. They imagine aggression, dominance, intimidation. But real strength often looks surprisingly calm. It looks like remaining composed under criticism, maintaining boundaries without guilt, saying no without anger, walking away without drama. Not because you're trying to appear powerful, but because your self-worth is no longer controlled by external validation. This is why truly confident people rarely need to announce their confidence. Their behavior communicates it naturally. The final shift: respect yourself first. People spend enormous amounts of energy trying to earn respect from others. But they often ignore something more important: self-respect. Because the way you treat yourself teaches others how to treat you. The boundaries you enforce, the standards you maintain, the behaviors you tolerate, all send signals. And those signals shape every relationship in your life. The moment you begin respecting yourself more deeply, many of these mistakes begin disappearing automatically. Not because you're trying to look stronger, but because you genuinely become stronger. Final reflection: weakness is rarely about physical strength. It's rarely about intelligence. And it's rarely about talent. More often, it's communicated through behavior, through the need for approval, the inability to set boundaries, the habit of over-explaining, and the tendency to chase what does not value you. The good news? Every one of these habits can be changed. And when they are, people don't just perceive you differently. You begin perceiving yourself differently too. And that's where real confidence begins. If this video sharpened your understanding of human behavior, subscribe for more insights into psychology, personal power, emotional mastery, and stoic resilience. And remember, the strongest people are not the loudest. They're the ones who no longer need anyone's permission to respect themselves.